shake off. Now, if I asked you how many of you ain't feeling good in your body, there'd probably be several. If I asked you how many of you's had kind of a tough week, I'm sure there would be several. If I asked you how many of you are dealing with some stress in any area of your life, I'm sure every hand would go up. Well, this morning, I'm praying by the time we leave here that we've shook it all off.
Yes, Lord.
I don't want us to leave the same way we came. I put it on Facebook this morning. I was excited. I was pure shaking with excitement of what God has. I had my message ready. I just knew I was preaching on Samson and how Samson shook himself before he went into battle. It's good, right? However, he showed me something else in the middle of me reading about Samson shaking.
All right.
So I want to show you something. If you will, I've got to go to 3 different places. But the first place is Isaiah 52:2. Isaiah 52:2. And once you get that, put your finger in that place and go to Matthew 10:14. I want to get you the scriptures in because I don't know where God's going to take this thing this morning.
Let him use you. Let him use you.
Isaiah 52:2. Has anybody in here got a difficult person in their life? Don't point to Jeff. Does anybody have any stress that they have to deal with on a daily basis? Again, don't point to Jeff. I know, it's difficult. It's difficult. But this morning, God has shown us that a lot of the stuff that we deal with is stuff that we put on ourselves. We leave it on ourselves instead of shaking it off. Isaiah 52:2 and Matthew 10:14. And I'm going to go into Samson just a little bit, but I want to give you the scriptures that God gave me this morning. Isaiah 52:2, if you got it, says, shake yourself from the dust.
Whoa.
Arise and be seated, O Jerusalem. Loose the bonds or the chains of slavery around your neck. And captive, daughter of Zion. He's telling us we've got to shake it off.
Yes, Lord.
He's telling us to loose the chains, but you got to shake them off so they come loose. That means that when your friends that you hung around with, when you were a captive, sometimes you got to shake them off. Woo! My butt's trying to shake off. You got to shake them loose. That don't mean you don't have to have nothing to do with them. But now I'm going to tell you something. When I get on further in this story, I've had some people in my life that I'm going to have to completely shake off and cast into the fire because I'm about done with it. Because I found out that they're not just a weight. They are nothing but a heavy burden. And so some stuff you've got to shake off and you've got to cast it loose. The next one is Matthew. I'm sorry when my book fell, it closed. Matthew 10:14. If anyone doesn't welcome you and listen to your words, shake the dust off your feet as you leave. Have you ever tried to talk to somebody and try to tell them the error of their ways or something that you think is a problem? And then, oh yeah. And they go right back and do the same mess. The Bible says if they won't listen to your words, you're supposed to shake the dust off your feet as you leave. It don't say to keep standing there beating it into their heads. It doesn't say that. It says as you leave. We got to shake the chains off. We're not captives. We're supposed to be set free by the blood of the Lamb. Is that not what the Word says?
Amen.
Then if we're set free, then why are we still holding on to these chains?
Come on. Right.
By our own free will. We don't want to let go of the chains because we're afraid if we do, we got to change.
Amen.
We don't want to change from that caterpillar from the cocoon into the butterfly.
Amen.
We want to stay in that prison because it's safe there. It's our comfort zone. Well, this morning I'm fixing to evict you. Now, the last place I want you to turn with me is the book of Acts, the 28th chapter. The book of Acts, the 28th chapter. Elder Nikki had preached on this back in May of last year. But God showed me some good stuff with this morning. And so apparently if you didn't listen to her, maybe this morning you'll get it. Sometimes we have to do you like children with repetition. You learn from repetition. So if you didn't get it the first time, hopefully God will get it through to you. Maybe He's mellowed that heart and plowed that soul enough over the last year and a half until maybe it'll sink in. I'm going to read about 10 verses, and then I'm going to kind of go back because God showed me some stuff. Now, before I start reading, I'm going to tell you this. Paul, you know, was a great man of God. He was an apostle. He would do great and mighty things. However, Paul was arrested. Paul had been arrested. He had been beaten. He had been thrown into a ship. The ship goes through an awful storm. Now, this whole time, the key I want you to understand is it didn't mean that Paul was out of the will of God.
Right.
That means God allowed him to go through being arrested. Paul was allowed to go through being beaten. Have you felt like you've been beat by the devil today? Paul was allowed to not only be tossed around on the waves and during the storm. Paul was shipwrecked. People die in shipwrecks. But where we're going to take it up at is verse 1 in the 28th chapter. And it says, when they escaped, they knew that the island was called Malta. And the barbarian people showed great kindness, for they kindled the fire. They received every one of them because of the present rain and because of the cold. Now I'm going to stop. This island was full of barbarians. Has any of you ever seen the old movie Conan the Barbarian?
Yes.
They were kind of rough-looking people. They weren't these prim and proper and priestly robes kind of dudes. These dudes had, swords and spears and, Arnold Schwarzenegger had the big muscles, but all of them didn't have all that. But they weren't your average run-of-the-mill people you would be comfortable around. They were barbarians. They were thought of to be a group of misfits. Does that sound familiar yet? But yet these strangers were cast away on their boat, and they come up on their island. Now, did it say that they shunned them? No. Did it say that they looked at them funny? No. It said they welcomed them and showed them great kindness. This group of misfits. It says they even kindled the fire for them in the rain. Now, I don't know how many of you watch survival shows like I do. But if you've ever seen the survival show, even if they have the little flint or striker or whatever it's called, it's not easy to start a fire in the rain. Everything is damp and everything is moist. But it says they kindled the fire and they started the fire in the rain and in the cold. That's a lot of hospitality. It must have been a southern island of Malta. Verse 2 says, and they showed great kindness. Verse 3, and when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, there came out a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand. Now, this is what I want you to notice about this verse. These people were being nice and kind to them. Did you see anybody else other than Paul mentioned that even tried to go get more wood for the fire?
That's good.
These people had been in the cold and in the rain helping them. And it says Paul went and got kindling to help keep the fire going. Have you ever felt like that you're the one that tries to help people the most and you're the one that the snake comes after?
Yes.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just looking at it too deep this morning because, the more I try to do good, it seems like the more snakes come out.
Right. Absolutely. That's the truth.
It seems like the more I try to stay away from doing the wrong things, the more attacks I have at me. The Bible tells us not to think it's strange when the fiery darts come at you. I'm going to keep going. A couple of things. Paul was arrested. He went through the storms. He was wrecked by the ship. He was bit by the snake. But he was in God's perfect will. The circumstances never stopped Paul. It never stopped him from helping other people. If the least little thing goes wrong in your life, and this is questions, do you stop? I'm hearing a bunch of notes, but I'm telling you something, lying is a sin. I'll just leave it there. Acts 28:2. He was alone with non-Christians in a strange place, and it didn't stop him. He wasn't near his church family. He wasn't near his regular family.
Come on.
He was with unchurched, ungodly, unsaved, heathen barbarians. Now, in the neighborhood I live in, a lot of them are not Christians. But I'm going to tell you something. I have been to some churches where I am more welcomed on that street by a group of what others would call heathens or barbarians than I am in a lot of churches.
Amen. Right? Yes. That's true.
Not ours, but a lot.
Amen. Yes.
I'm going to keep going. Keep going. I've seen that people would fight to get what they need will give you more than somebody who's got an abundance. You look at us as a church family. We've heard it 1,000 times as they would come through the door for the giveaways and for the Blessed Child events. How does such a little church do this? How? We really don't know, except for but God.
But God. Amen.
But we are little. We have to scrounge for most of what we get. It ain't the best of everything. But God provides it.
Yes, He does.
When there's these big, beautiful churches that have thousands of dollars and thousands and hundreds of dollars in the bank, and they don't give you 5 pennies.
Amen.
And that's what Paul was dealing with. He was with unchurched or misfits that was given everything they had. They gave him shelter from the cold and the rain and a fire. Does that not sound familiar to anybody?
Amen. Yes.
People want to look at us like we're a bunch of misfits. You know what? I don't want to fit their mold. I don't want to be like them. Well, I can get up here on Sunday and tell you how much I love you, and then on Monday, if you need me, now unless my phone don't work.
Amen.
But Facebook normally works. I don't want you to have to guess whether I love you or not. I don't want you to have to guess whether or not I serve to the best of my ability. I don't want you to have to guess that. I don't want it to have to be where people will say, well, isn't he a kid Christian? She says she is. I want it to be where it just beams out of you. And there's a reason I want it to be. It says they kindled the fire. We've got to kindle the fire back in us.
Yes.
This snake, when it latched a hold of Paul's hand, it could not, it would not let go. He shook and shook and shook. Now, why did that snake come out in the first place? It was comfortable hiding in those kindling sticks. It was under the radar. It was protected. It was in the dark. But when it came in contact with the fire, it went after anything it could latch onto. That is what we're going through, church. You don't realize. That's why the devil keeps coming at us and he leaves a lot of the other places alone.
Right? Amen.
There ain't enough Holy Ghost fire in there to light a match, much less an altar.
Amen. Yes.
The reason he keeps coming after us is because we're helping people. He comes out and he comes after us because he don't want us to do that.
Amen.
Well, it's made him mad.
Yes.
This snake that latched onto Paul was mad.
That's right.
It latched at anything it could, the closest thing to it, because it was mad. Paul had took him out of his comfort zone. Paul had stirred up some fire that was getting too close to him. Now, have you ever been to church? Now, don't point at nobody. Have you ever been to church with somebody, and as soon as the Holy Ghost gets to falling, first thing they do is start to get uncomfortable? Whew, they start squirming in that seat. They might even start collecting their Bibles and their bags and get ready to go.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna call names, so don't start. Some of you look like deer in headlights. They kindled their fire. And that's when the snake came out, when he got too close. Some of the reason that God's had to move some people out of here ain't that God moved them, is because the fire was fixing to fall, and they were scared of what was getting ready to happen, and they knew they'd have to change.
Right?
So they exit stage left. Think it's not strange of the fiery darts. The strangers will be drawn to us. That's what God showed me in this.
Yes. Hallelujah.
The other strangers and the misfits are who God keeps sending to us.
That's right.
Paul was an awesome man of God.
Yes, he will.
But if you really do some research on Paul, Paul was a bit strange himself. I'm not going to get into that today. That's a whole other message. But we've got to welcome the strangers just as these barbarians did. We've got to comfort them. It was raining. They built a fire. It wasn't comfortable. The snake come out. Now, the snake could take it cold. He could take it raining. But he couldn't take the heat. Is that the reason why we get attacked so much?
Amen.
Is that why we've had so many snakes come through these doors? Did we have it too comfortable?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go on, I promise, I'm going on. Hurricanes tossed that boat around. I'm sure they were afraid. I'm sure they were tired. I'm sure they were wore out. Self-inventory. Have you been to the point that you were weary? You were tired of fighting? You were wore out from the battles and the winds and the waves of life bashing you on every hand? Just as God gave Paul a safe place to land, He respects no man. He will do the same thing for us. Paul stayed in the will of God, and God gave him a place where he was accepted and he was loved and he was taken care of. But he got bit. He got bit. I got ahead of myself. Let me go on and finish reading this scripture, and then I'll finish what I've got to say. I'm going to start with verse 3. And when Paul had gathered the kindles and a stick and laid them on the fire, there came a viper out of the heat and fastened to his hand. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said among themselves, "No doubt this man is a murderer, whom, though he has escaped to the sea, and the vengeance suffer not to live." And he shook off the beast into the fire, and he felt no harm. Now, this is what I don't want us to be. These people welcomed Paul and the other survivors in. Very kind, very loving. Awesome, right? We discovered this. But as soon as an issue arose, as soon as the first struggle hit, all of a sudden it was, you know what? You know what? I bet Chris is doing some stuff. I bet he's murdered somebody. I know, see? You know, Trish, I bet you Jeff is lying on Chris.
He is.
Now this is the same people that welcomed him in 5 minutes earlier.
Right?
We ask God, God, give us growth, God. Send us people, Lord, to minister to. And as soon as He does, we start finding problems. And
Right? Amen. Amen.
well, that was a little strange.
Yeah.
Well, there's something about that one. You know what? He may have been a murderer. That might be why he kept so far. Sounds like Paul, don't it?
Right?
I'll leave it alone. My pages keep going. You have to think about it. You have to think about it. But it says he shook the beast off into the fire and he felt no harm. Even after he shook the snake off, here's what he told him. Howbeit they look at him and should have only, his hand should have swollen and fallen down dead. Suddenly, but after they had looked a great while and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said that he must have been a god. So after He didn't die. After that old viper had bit him, after he shook him off, after they talked about him and put him down, and he didn't die, then all magically he was okay. This is us in everyday life. This is us in everyday life. Well, Donna has tripped and fell, and, you know, I bet you she's going to die. She's going to quit church. But then when she didn't, you know what? She might make it after all. I mean, really, that's how we do. I mean, a lot of us has been through it. You know, when me and Ashley's dad were busting up, it was, you know what, I bet she's been having an affair the whole time. Not knowing what his red wrinkled bow, I'll leave it alone. You know, talking about me. Well, she won't never get back in church. Yeah, I bet she's been doing this the whole time. I bet you all those praises and all those shouting and speaking in tongues, I bet you all that was fake. As soon as I get back in church, it's like, whoa, sister, I'm so glad you're back in church. Why don't you lead the praise team for me? You're the same people that were talking about me 3 years ago. Is that not what Paul went through? Why do you think that was? Well, he must be a God. Well, she must be a godly woman. You know what? She might can do something for us.
Right?
I might need her down the road. And if you go on and read a little bit more into that story, which is an awesome story, it tells you that one of the ones in the next town got sick, and they come and got Paul, and he went and prayed for him, and the man was healed, and then more came, and more was healed. Is that not the shape of the church?
Yes.
They talk about you until you can do something for them.
My God. My God.
Sometimes we let life make us cold and indifferent and bitter and distant.
Yep. That's true.
Paul didn't do this. It says everything in this Bible is for our reproof and to make us better. So let's learn from this. When the people are talking about you, well, I tell you what, let's change it to me. When the people are talking about me, and they do, even the ones that don't know that I know they're talking about me, I do. If you are like these heathens, and you think that you can only love me when everything's going good and there ain't no snake, wrong. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to pray for you. But I'm going to shake you off just like he did that snake in the fire.
Yes. Amen.
I ain't got time for that. Yeah. I ain't got time for that. I've got work to do.
Yes.
So you and your little babblings over there, wherever you're at, and I won't name places, but I could, keep on running your mouth. Because the more you run your mouth, just like Paul, the more God's going to bless me. You didn't call me to do this. Y'all didn't call me to do this. God called me to do this. God anointed me to do this. So I'm serving note on the devil. The more you talk about me, the more you put this ministry down, the more God's going to bless us. So keep on, devil. We're going to shake it off like water on a duck's back. We're going to keep on trucking and serving people because that's what God told us to do. I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm not going to let it stop you. Let them talk. You would be amazed at some of the stuff that's been said about me. I ain't going to go into details. I'm sure some of you that's watching this by YouTube, I'm sure some of you's probably already heard it. Some of you might be guilty of the one spreading. They were cold, they were wet, they were tired. But he still ministered and helped them. The heat is what's going to take these snakes out of our lives.
Amen.
He made the snakes mad. He shook it off. That's what we're going to have to do. We have to worry about who the snakes are that we don't see. We have to worry about who the snakes are that are hiding in those bushes. If you think if Paul had have known that there was a snake in that kindling, he'd even picked it up.
That's right.
I would. when it struck him, it didn't let go. Have you got enemies or frenemies in your life?
Yep, amen.
That regardless of how hard you shake, you cannot shake them off.
Amen.
You can go months without talking to these things.
Yep.
And they're still there hissing at you. You ain't even got to shake the kindling to get them to whispering.
Amen. That's right. That's right.
They love you to your face.
Right? That's right. Woo! Preach it, sis.
Talk about behind your back. That sounded like a forked tongue to me.
Yes.
Hiss. Hiss.
Well,
Hiss. They grab a hold and they won't let go. Now, I wonder if the reason, now this is just my thinking, this is Sharonology. I wonder if the reason that snake didn't let go could be because he didn't know where he was going to land.
Woo! That's good.
He could have landed a couple of places when Paul was shaking, because if you're shaking something, let me pull this out. And you're shaking it. Now, it could go on top of that fan. It could go on top of that pulpit. And if that was a fire down there, it could have landed in the fire. It could have landed over there on a soft seat. So I wonder if the only reason that old snake ain't letting go is because it's scared of where it's going to land. It didn't want the fire because it didn't like it. The fire purifies stuff, and it really don't want that change that comes with purification.
That's right.
So is that why that snake held on so tight? Is that why the snakes in your life are holding on so tight?
Amen. Oh, that's true.
It's just a question. Just a question. Do you feel like the attacks will never end? Do you feel like the snake ain't going to turn loose? Are you willing to do what it takes to make him turn loose?
Yes. Hallelujah.
He didn't let it just stay on his hand. Now, Paul could have sit on that sand with that snake attached to him. Couldn't he? He didn't have to do nothing. He could have just let it stay there. Or he could have started complaining, "Oh my, I'm going to die. There's a snake on my hand." Have you ever seen somebody that needed something fixed? And instead of fixing it, they'd rather tell you, "Oh Lord, oh my, there's a snake on my hand." They don't want to shake it off because they hadn't got nothing to complain about.
Amen. That's right.
Paul could have sat there and he could have said, "Well, why did the snake bite me?" He could have started pointing fingers at the heathens.
That's true. Amen. That's right.
"Well, I'm a holy man of God.
Right?
That snake shouldn't have bit me. Why didn't he bite one of the heathens that believe in many gods?" But he didn't do that either. He took care of the problem.
That's right.
He didn't care where the snake landed.
Right.
Whether it landed in the fire, whether it landed on the sand, whether it landed in the tree. The only thing he knew was he didn't want it near him.
Yes. That's right.
That's what we got to do. When the devil comes at us, we can't hold on to it and say, "Trish, what am I going to do with this?
Right?
This snake is after me." Jeff, do you see this snake? Instead, we want to point everybody to look. Look at this snake.
Yep.
Paul didn't stand there. And if he had Facebook, I'm sure he would have said, "Hold on a minute. There's a snake on my hand." Really? Now you tell me that ain't what we do. Somebody talk about us and a snake hisses at us and all of a sudden it's Facebook. Don't you judge me. I see Facebook every day, so y'all don't try to act innocent. We'll go find an old status shuffle from maybe a few years ago. We were going through the same thing with the same people. So there's some snakes I got to get rid of. And we'll find that old status or the memories, because it's funny now because the memories come up on Facebook to remind you what you were going through, which is your past. But yet we go and post them every day. And it's even sad, I'm going to admit this. I wait for Amanda or somebody else to post their memory so I can see what mine was. So not only is the other person looking back, y'all ain't no help this morning.
Yes.
So not only is the other person looking back, and the Bible tells us that a man that turns and looks back isn't fit for what? It says put your hand on the plow and don't what?
Don't look back.
Don't look back.
And yeah, you'll probably see my memories up there tomorrow as soon as somebody posts. But I'm just saying, I want to make a point. Paul didn't wait to look back at the memories and say, well, have I ever been bit by a snake before? You know what? I bet you back in Tarsus. No, that was John. He got bit. I promise that's... Let me go. Maybe if I look further back in my memories,
Right.
I can find another injury.
Right.
Maybe if I look back further into my past, maybe I can find another attack. So then you're not just dealing with the snake on your hand, you're dealing with a snake from 5 years ago.
Right. Yes. That's the truth.
Promise, I'm trying to be good this morning, y'all. I promise. I promise, I promise. He didn't just whine and complain. He didn't just sit down. He didn't just stop. He didn't just sit there and share it with the people of what he had in his hand. We got to shake it off.
Yes.
We got to shake off the devil. But the only way you're going to do that, and I'm fixing to help you with this, is by growing closer to the fire.
Yes.
Now, what is the fire, you may ask? I'll be glad to tell you. Where you find the fire of God is in your praise, in your prayers,
Yes.
in your worship,
Yes.
and in this altar,
Yes. Yes.
and in your prayer closet.
Amen.
Amen.
You are not going to find the fire of God on Facebook. If you want some chains broke, if you want the promises of God to come to pass, you got to open the book.
Yes. Amen.
This is what draws you to the fire of God. All the beautiful songs in the world can enter and usher in the presence of God. But if you don't want the fire, you can still sit there with that snake on your hand.
Amen. That's right.
You can still sit there with that snake on your hand. Fire is worship. Praise is fire. When people lie on you, shake it off. When the devil tries to steal your joy, shake it off. You've got to kindle the fire. Make it too hot for the devil to stand being around you.
Yes, Lord. Amen. Yes.
You'd rather stay lukewarm and dabble in your sin
Right? Come on.
than get on fire by God and not have to fight so many snakes.
Yes. That's the truth, Lord. That's true.
I'm telling y'all are ready for today. I'm telling you. You got to kindle the fire.
That's right.
Make it too hot. When he tries to weaken your faith, shake him off. Walk in the promises of the Word. I am more than a conqueror. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me.
Yes.
He is the beginning and the end, the first and the last, the Alpha and Omega.
Yes, Lord.
You can't sit around having a pity party saying, oh, pitiful me. Oh, pitiful me. Really? I am tired of being the victim. It's time, it says in the song they were singing like, there's an army rising up.
Yes.
If you ain't nothing but a weakling, guess what? I don't want you fighting beside me.
That's the truth.
Go join the other church down the street, then they go fight it off.
That's right.
The ones that don't care if you change. The ones that don't care if you stay the same. They don't care how many snakes you got attached as long as you can still get your wallet.
That's right. Amen. That's right.
I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone.
Amen.
I'm going to leave it alone. I'm almost done, believe it or not. When he tries to kill you, shake it off. Isaiah 54:17. No weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Yes.
No tongue that rises up against me.
Yes. Yes.
Hallelujah.
When he tried to kill Ellen, she had to shake it off.
Yes.
Amen.
Praise God.
If she hadn't shook it off and just let it kill her, she'd have been dead.
Yes.
We'd have been putting flowers on her grave at Christmas instead of being able to celebrate with her.
Yes.
Yes.
You got to shake it off when he tries to steal from you. There was a little story that I thought was really cute, and I think I've shared it with you before, but it fits so perfectly well. There was this old farmer, and out in the middle of his field, he had a well. Well, one of the days, one of his little mules, and see, I didn't say the other word, one of his mules, fell in the well. Well, he called and he checked on some prices, and he found out it was going to cost a great deal to not only repair the well, but to get the mule out of the well. So he decided the most human thing he could do was to just go on and take the mule out of its misery, and he was going to bury the, fill in the well with dirt, and at that time it would also bury the mule. So every day, him and his other friends would come out there, and they would take shovels of dirt and shovels of debris and shove it in that well. Well, every day that old mule would look at it, and they'd throw it in there on him, and he would take it and he'd shake it off. They'd throw more dirt, he'd shake it off, and he'd step up on top of what they threw on him.
Woo, that's good.
The next day, they'd come out there and they'd throw more dirt and more trash and more garbage and more lies and more talking about him. And they threw more on him. What'd he do?
Shake it off.
Shook it off.
Yes, Lord.
And he stepped up just a little bit higher.
That's right.
He kept doing this day after day after day after day, till finally one day, they come out there to throw it around, and that old mule was gone. What they didn't realize is the more garbage and the more hate and the more anger and the more trash and the more stuff that they threw at him, every time he was shaking it off, he was rising just a little bit higher. So one day he could walk right on out of that well. He didn't have to worry about all this stuff because they had threw enough at him until he rose above it. And he was able to walk.
Amen.
You can't let what the devil throws at you keep you in that well.
Amen.
Shake it off. Step up on it until God gives you the strength to step out of it.
Yes. That's good. Amen. Yes.
He could have stayed in that well until life left him. He could have stayed in that well and been buried alive.
Yep.
That's what we do with our sin. Put me on some shape, Jamie. That's what we do with our sin. We'd rather stay in the sin than to shake it off and to rise above it and walk past it. It's time for us to shake this mess off of us. If you want to shake this mess off of you this morning, this altar is open, and I want you to shake like you ain't never shook before. Get the snakes out of your life by the heat. It ain't gonna come by being lukewarm, church. Bible